Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what is the Arsenal News Show. Join you every morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Apologies for the slight late start today. There's obviously so much going on in the channel in terms of technology and hiccups. I have good news and bad news. Good news is we know what the problem is. The bad news is it's a problem I can't fix very easily right now. There's an issue with the laptop's kind of USB ports. I have a short-term plan, which hopefully can be put into practice today at some point this afternoon once things arrive, but it may require a change of laptop, which obviously this one is relatively new, so hopefully still in warranty. But yes, that's the issue. We've got a USB problem, and that's been the problem the whole time. I did a whole diagnostic check on the laptop yesterday, and it came up saying USB failure. So at least we know the problem, but it will mean that there's probably going to be some robotic sounds. So I'm relying on you guys and potentially a guest in letting me know when there is going to be and if there is a problem. But there you go. Thank you, everybody that's tuned in. Really appreciate your time as always. Do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's say good morning to those joining us in the chat box. Black Shy, Mark, good morning to you. To Paul, Jimbo, Matt G, Kevin, Carl, Tony, Granddaddy Gunnar, Paul, PJ, Marcus, Alpha, Dave, Johnny, Phil, Grantley Poos, Kevin, Errol. Good morning to everybody else as well joining us. Thank you, everyone, for doing so. It means the absolute world. Let's jump into today's stories because we've got a special part 2 coming up. So let's fly through today's information. We kick off with Arsenal's ladies beating Linköping in the Women's Champions League game yesterday, and they will now play FC Paris in the next match. It was fantastic to see Beth Meads in the squads as she's returned to the action, which is absolutely brilliant. Jonas Eidevall actually spoke yesterday talking about how McCabe was playing at right back, and I think it was Tim Stillman that asked the question surrounding whether or not that meant that Arsenal will be going into the market for a right back, to which he hopes, Jonas Eidevall does, that we will be signing a right back. So fingers crossed that can happen before the deadline closes. See, still transfers going on in this world, and hopefully we can sort out the right back position in the women's team better than we did the men's team on deadline day. Two of Arsenal's ladies, Katie McCabe and Amanda Arstedt, have been nominated alongside Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard for the Ballon d'Or for this year. A massive congratulations to all of them. Very interesting nominations overall. No room for Marcus Rashford amongst the nominees, or William Saliba, it's worth pointing out as well. Thought maybe he was a little bit hard done by with this one. But a massive congratulations to our quartets. And not just those four, but Ramsdale is the youngest amongst all the nominees for the Yachine trophy as well. 25-year-old Ramsdale, the youngest by 2 years. Andre Onana, the next youngest on the list. So a massive congratulations to all 5 of Arsenal's representatives in the respective competitions for those solo awards. That isn't Beth Mead on your screen, because I can guarantee you she doesn't look like that. But Ryan Alebiosu has left the club permanently and has joined, to the best of my understanding and pronunciation as well, KV Kortrijk. But Alebiosu has left the club on a permanent deal this summer and will not be an Arsenal player anymore. We wish him the absolute best and hope that he goes on to have a successful career. But it was always likely that he was going to leave because of his age. Over 20, he's 21, and he is 21 until he turns 22. But because of the aging rules in the youth setup, it would have been very difficult for him to get minutes in the youth team this season. Moving forward, and Jorginho is being linked, according to Spanish media, with a move to Barcelona in January. The club are very much interested in trying to sign the cheap options on the market, considering their financial situation. And with him only having 6 months left on his deal come the end of that January window, with an option of a further year, of course, Barca might look to try and sign the Italian, who has been dropped from the Italian national side after a lack of minutes with Arsenal. That could make him think twice about maybe his Arsenal future. I, for one, hope that he stays through to the end of the season, because I think he can be a real asset for us. But it will be intriguing to see if anyone like Barca tries to test Arsenal's resolve. If you remember, Chelsea got around 12 million quid for Jorginho with just 6 months left on his deal. So if Arsenal can get a very good deal in the end, maybe it's one to think about and one that they could look to replace in January. I talked yesterday in an article about Yusuf Fofana and how he's only got 6 months left on his contract at Monaco. He does have an extra year as well, like Jorginho, but there could be some options out there in the market to replace Jorginho with if Arteta wants to try and find one. And lastly, Trabzonspor have entered the race for Nicolas Pepe. Besiktas are the club that were in negotiations, and as far as I'm aware, those negotiations are still ongoing. It's not collapsed, but we did talk yesterday about how there's been some renegotiating of those talks. Well, Trabzonspor are trying to jump in at the last moment to see if they can get their hands on Nicolas Pepe. So we're still waiting to get a resolution to this saga. The windows are closing. Today is the deadline for the Saudi window. I'm not 100% sure when the Turkish window closes, but I'm sure it's also very, very soon indeed. So this is going to have to be a story that resolves itself very quickly. And hopefully it can be with Arsenal benefiting in some kind of financial way. Remember, if Arsenal get around just over 2 million quid in terms of a fee, they will save around 10 million across the season because his wages are upwards of 7 million a year. So that would be a significant saving if we are able to move out Pepe for some small transfer fee. And that is all of today's stories. So we're going to move to part 2. I'm going to be joined by a semi-good guest for the second half and have a chat about a fantastic cause that he is supporting. So without further ado, let's jump to that. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Good morning. Very early morning. The only reason I'm up tonight is because in about 20 minutes, the schedule has Diogo Dalot actually sliding through Virginia, and I'm waiting for that to happen because it's like a lunar or solar eclipse. You got to be there right at the right moment.
No, absolutely. I'm only joking about semi-good, by the way, Rich. He's a fantastic
another
guest.
semi-reference, but yeah,
he's used to these types of jokes before coming onto these shows. Anyway, it's like
Respect your elders.
Got a couple of fantastic guests and Mike, and got a really great panel today with Mike. So he's used to this type of behaviour at this moment in time.
Yes, I was once told by one of my elders, and perhaps the only guy that's balder than me, Lee Judges, that he was told by his dad, if they're not giving you a hard time, then they don't really care about you. So, even though you're far too young to be treating me like this.
Speaking of being given a hard time, I purposely wore a cap this morning. I don't know if you saw this, Mike, but on yesterday's show, I was criticised for wearing a cap during shows. And I'm not joking. It wasn't like a jokey comment. It was a very serious comment in the comment section saying, I don't appreciate it when you wear caps. It's not very professional.
I don't appreciate. Okay. So, I mean, you could look, I mean, we want people to watch the Gooner Talk, but if, there are other podcasts you could watch where people don't wear caps. I mean,
the comment was from Des Morgan. So Des, if you're watching, hello, mate. Good, no baseball cap today. Not professional, just my opinion. Don't take it personally. Everything else is great. Thanks. I mean, come on.
I'm in the process of here.
Have you got a cap to hand? Maybe I should have double cap. Maybe
it's not a cap, but it's my grandfather's hat. It's my grandfather's hat that I took.
Just turned into a very jaunty podcast all of a sudden. Yes. What we're grabbing now. There it is. That works. I hope this is professional enough for you, Des. I hope you're enjoying the show.
He just put me on the solo view now if he wants something professional, thoughtful, and thought-provoking. Because like I told you, I have a breaking news on a Azerbaijani 4th division false 9 that Arsenal's been rumored with, and it's been waiting for the proper 8 a.m. show.
I expect the dossier as soon as feasibly possible, please. Before we are going to have questions, and the usual part 2 people, and Mike's going to join me for that. But before we go into the questions, people are unsubbing now because we're wearing hats. Oh no, that's not good. But talk to us about
you're not Trabzonspor. You're now 57,000 away from 3,000.
Oh dear. But talk to me about the Goodness Pod's 27-hour podcast that you're going to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like an awful idea, and frankly it is, except it's been a really, really cool event the last 2 years. This is the 3rd time that we've done it, and of course, we wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for a great cause, and that great cause is Gooners versus Cancer. I have been doing a lot of promotion this week on various podcasts. I have many of these shirts, in case anyone was wondering whether I'm just wearing the same shirt for a week, although, I'm not going to BS you. I've done that before. But anyway, enough about my shirts. This is a fundraiser for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. It's something that we do year-round for Gooners versus Cancer. We do a number of different things. We do FIFA tournaments. We do live events when the team's in the U.S. We do live events like the ones that we've done in London. We raise money anytime that we can because the Gooner community is so amazing at being generous and taking care of other people. And so this is just the latest event. It's 27 straight hours, and I don't know if you can read the small print there, but it's not just 27.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just 27 hours of me. No one would want that. The Leukemia and Lymphoma Society would ask us politely not to do it. It's 27 hours of amazing guests, amazing prizes. We do a prize draw pretty much every segment, so about 25 prize draws, 27 hours of guests. We've got Tom on, we've got Peter Drury, we've got Jim Proudfoot, we've got John Champion, we've got I can't read the list anymore, but we've got Kevin Campbell, Alan.
You got Gab Marcotti and Julian Laurens at 6 till 7 that'll be on the Sunday night, so UK time.
They'll be kicking us off. My old high school football teammate Gab Marcotti and Julian Laurens going to be popping the show off. We're going to have the guys from Arsenal Vision on, both Clive and Elliot separately. We're going to have FK on. We're going to have Lee Judges. We're going to have Sophie will, of course, be on for a long time. Go to goonersvcancer.com. The link is in the description. A birdie just told me that. And you can see the entire list, not just of the guests, but of the prizes. You can see the schedule, so you can plan out your day. If you can't do all 27 hours, A, what's wrong with you? B, at least this way you can kind of plan your sleep schedule around the guests that you want to see live. But trust me, there's some great guests in there. There's some great prizes in there. And if you go to Gooners v Cancer now, you do not have to wait until Sunday. In fact, I recommend against it. Go now to Gooners versus Cancer, goonersvcancer.com. Read up on the prizes, read up on how to enter, and you can make your donation directly to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society using your credit card right there. And the sooner you're in the raffle, the earlier you make the donation, anytime now or after, you will have those entries and you'll be in all 25 prize drawings. If you do it halfway through the show, you're going to miss out on the first, half of the prize drawings. And what sense does that make? So it's going to be a fun experience. We've done it twice before. I almost fell asleep while talking to a couple people last year. Sophie saved my butt on that account, but I got a good feeling this year is going to be, a smooth sailing.
So. Well, one person that will wake you up is Elliot, because he can't talk slow enough, to fall asleep. So that'll be good. However, Clive, you're good. You're doing Clive at the start, because if you put Clive at the end,
I wasn't going to say this, but because I didn't want it to come out as though the wrong way. But last year, Clive came on our podcast at about the 18-hour mark. So it was maybe six. It was maybe six.
Was it sponsored by the Calm app? Because
it was 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. And just about 10 minutes in, I was fascinated by what he was saying, but his voice was literally transforming me into this sleepy state. And and Sophie basically just took over the questions and answered, because she could tell I was not doing well. But yeah, we got Clive at the beginning, so I will be plugged in. I will be awake. I'll be excited and hanging on his every word. And it'll be you that I'm falling asleep in front of. But
yes, yeah, I'll be there. So on Monday we'll be doing the 8 a.m. show, and we'll have competition for views actually, because you'll be live at 8 a.m. as well.
I'll be live with these two really well-known football commentators named Peter Drury and Harry Symeou.
I bet Peter Drury looked at his time slot and went, "Oh no, I'm not going to be able to watch the 8 a.m. show."
I'm sure that's exactly what happened. But look, I'm cool with it. If you want to miss Peter Drury because you are so addicted to the news and information that you get from Tom Canton, that's fine with me. It'll be a short show. He's good. He's promised me he's just going to take 15, 18 minutes. That's the tops. He's only going to talk about each European league twice. And then he's going to physically transport all of you over to the Gooners versus Cancer podcast for his for his thing. So I want to see at about 8:20, 8:25 in the morning, I want to see our numbers go from like 12 to 812 all at once, like boom.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
so on
Tom,
Monday, when you're all listening, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the 8 a.m. show as usual. And then after about 20 minutes or 25, 30 minutes, because I think my slot's 8:30, unless I can jump on quickly, but I'll try
your
and stick
slot
to
is
the
whatever you're
8:30
done
slot.
with this pod.
Yeah. Whenever we're done with the 8 a.m. show, I will be grabbing all of you digitally, not physically, otherwise there might be lawsuits. But we'll be grabbing all of you and throwing you into, we'll be doing a raid. I think that's what they call it on Twitch. Is it Twitch raids or things like that? And we'll be jumping into the Gooners pod for a live show. So make sure you tune in for Monday's morning show because it's going to be a cool hour of content. Right. Now we have a job to do still because it's what we're here for.
One more thing. Can I just say one more thing?
Go on, quick.
There's a nice, easy link to watch. GoonersVCancer.com is how you donate. GoonersVCancer.com is how you learn about
down below.
it. But the link to watch is 27hourpod.com. I mean, what's easier to remember than that? 27hourpod.com. Sorry.
Both of them are down in the description. So you got a link for the show, which is the 27-hour pods, and then underneath that is the Gooners versus Cancer link as well. So you got both of them down in the video description. So I think about these things, mate.
Other than the cap, you are the most professional out there. Come on.
I try my very
best. One thing you haven't conquered yet.
Let's go into the chat and take some of these questions. And if you've got questions for myself and Mike, you can throw them in there. Christopher says, has Akinola left? Yes, I think he has, actually. I think I may have missed that one this morning. I think Tim Akinola has left Arsenal. He's joined Qatari side Al Bida SC. So, yeah, he also, like Alebiosu, was one of those players that couldn't really be part of the youth side. So they had to move him on. And I think he spent last season, I want to say it was Chesterfield on loan. But, yeah, he is now left the club on a permanent deal, as has Alebiosu. So we got players now coming through. You know, Tim was a defensive midfield. Alebiosu was like a right wing back. We've got players coming through. Will Waters, of course. Miles Lewis, Skelly. We don't have places for these other youngsters, and that's just the process of what happens these days. So yeah, let's see if they can go on to have successful careers. Matt G says, do you think the reason we didn't sign a Timber replacement is because Arteta believes Rice could play in the defense if we need him to? What do you think about that, Mike?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest reason we didn't sign a Timber replacement is because you just can't you can't just throw money at every single problem. I mean, Timber replacement, we end up with an extra player next year that's essentially a Timber replacement when Timber's back. I'm sure they looked. I'm sure you would have a sense as to what the available options were. We did have quite a bit longer to replace Timber than we did have to replace a few months of Thomas Partey. As that happened towards the end of the window. But I mean, we have 6 guys to play 4 positions in our defense, maybe 7, and a lot of them can play 2 to 3 positions. So, you know, I think Timber was brought in. Well, maybe we thought he was brought in. Maybe this wasn't why he was brought in, but he was brought in for incredible depth and flexibility. And while we don't have him now for this season, which is tragic, and it really changes the look of our summer transfer window, you know, I don't know that you could just, you know, sign replacements for every player that you've just signed when they get hurt. So I think we have a lot of different people who can play there, and that depends on where there is. But, you know, I think we were pretty much done.
I think obviously there was an issue with the fact at the end of the summer that we didn't get enough players out quickly enough. Cedric and Pepe still here, Holding, Tavares, Lokonga all left on deadline day. Like, we couldn't move players quickly enough. That's not a fault necessarily of the club, in my view, because you can't move players on unless there's a market for them. And those markets didn't appear for those players until deadline day, sadly. And for some players, even when after the deadline closed, the market hadn't yet appeared for the likes of Pepe. And still for Cedric, we're not hearing anything about Cedric. Maybe he's staying. You know, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's very difficult to suggest like investing in a player when the space in the squad hasn't been vacated yet. I know some people say, well, why does that matter? You're not going to use Pepe and that, but it's to do with, you know, space in the squad. It's to do with the harmony of the group. If you've got players in and around the club that are not involved in any way, shape or form, that creates a negative atmosphere in some senses. And Arteta wants to avoid that as best as he can, as do the club. And I listened to the chat that Ødegaard and Arteta did on the Arsenal website yesterday, and the big word that was used was togetherness and connection. And you don't want to, you know, destabilize that with making some rash decisions in the market. Also, Timber was the best.
I think I heard that from Edu once. Something to that effect. I think I heard from Edu one time.
Timber was the best defender that we could have bought this window. Like, he was the best one.
Yeah.
There aren't that many defenders that have moved in this window, especially those types of fullbacks as well. So there aren't too many on the market, sadly, to just be able to go down the supermarket and pick up a Timber replacement. I suppose it would be a hardware store actually for a Timber replacement, but you know.
Could visit Huggy.
It's 8 a.m. and I'm still pulling off this comedy genius. Right, let's go to Gary says, where do you see Nwaneri getting minutes and what positions do you think he will play in the future? I'd hate for it to become another Balogun situation. I think Nwaneri is a very special kid.
I mean, there's no question. I mean, if you've watched the Jack Wilshere documentary, you've seen what the team thinks of Ethan. It wasn't just a stunt. I mean, you could say it was geared towards re-signing him and interesting him and showing him there's a path and you know, basically gifting him the Premier League record for the youngest debut. We haven't seen him since. I don't think in a match day squad, maybe once on the bench, but if that. But I mean, that's your guy. I think that if you're going to see another Saka or Emil Smith Rowe rise to the occasion and join the first team in the next 3 years, I think that's the guy that they're pegging to do that. And so, you know, I don't know enough about the player to know exactly what position he would play for us if he breaks into the first team, but I don't see this as being another Balogun situation. I think he'll be given every opportunity because I think the club are just in love with the guy right now.
Yeah, absolutely. They were desperate to sign him up to a new deal. He was, to be fair, there was a lot of talk about, you know, interest from Chelsea and City. To my understanding, his focus was always on trying to come to an agreement with Arsenal. He's grown up at this club. He loves this club. And hopefully he has a future at it. And I think that the faith that we showed by giving him that appearance against Brentford was a big thing. We've taken him to loads of senior training camps abroad as well. There's loads of really great stuff. A couple of really good comments coming in. Firstly, Morgie says, Mike, no question, I'm afraid. We met at the Tom's live event. Great charity and effort you make supporting it. My missus has leukemia, so I'll be generously in donating, which is fantastic. But Morgie, obviously send our absolute best to the other half. And Mike,
I wish we could do more to support you rather than you supporting us. But look, I mean, it will hopefully all come to the right ending, which will be recovery for your missus and a cure for everybody. Thanks for the support.
Absolutely. Do you remember, Mike, when you spotted me in the press box and you kind of leaned over the barrier to shout my name? Yeah, and I was probably about 2 meters from the barrier, if that.
When was this?
What game was it? It was when you were over. So the Forest game.
Yeah, yeah. No, it wouldn't have been the Forest game. I think it actually was the
Cup game.
It was the Emirates Cup. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, if you were thinking about the positioning of the chair, I was literally like 2 over, I think, from where the stairs are. Mike,
yeah, but you were deep in conversation with the guy you were sitting with, and
Morgie decided I was now on the other side of the press box, but Morgie from where you stood still shouted across about 20 tables to get my attention. So, you know, you've been beaten in that regard. It was great.
Now I got to up my game. I'm going to do it from the North Bank next time.
Oh God, yeah, you got to do it from the East Stands.
I'll call you from the North Bank and from the.
I remember when I got a text from Owen who was sitting in the clock end, and like it was like I think it was the Forest game because they had all the issues with the ticketing. So Owen had got in early, and thankfully he was like the only person in the clock end because I could see him and we were waving at each other. So
yeah, I sorted his tickets, which is why I was like, "You're going in at about 11 o'clock for this game," and and he was there with the ginger fella, and so that's a fun time, I'm sure he was looking out for you.
Fuad says, Mike, what's your favorite place in London, Emirates aside, when you visit? Just curious. Now, if you don't say what I think you're going to say.
It was literally on the tip of my tongue, and it is a specific restaurant it's just outside of Leicester Square, in Chinatown. It's just off of Gerrard Street. I forget the name of that exact street right there, but you have to try the food at Canton Chinese restaurant. It's owned by Tom's parents. Every time I come there, I'm looking around for Tom. I can't find Tom. Just based on the sheer number of individual and distinct separate videos I've shot for Tom, where I'm feverishly looking around for him in front of this restaurant. I think that would have to be my favorite place in London, because there's no place else I could have been to more often than that.
We have actually, for those that are even new to this summer, like myself, Mike, Sophie, Lee Judges, Harry Simeon, Owen, Jared, Albert, obviously a couple of your mates as well came along, and we actually had a really nice lunch there. It was kind of a bit of a laugh, the fact that we went there.
And the whole point was that it was going to be funny. He gives and he didn't even.
What was funny is that I had to kind of like keep it secret to everybody when they were saying, "Where are we going?" And I was like, "This is the address." And they were like, "Well, what are we eating?" I'm like, "I can't tell you."
You didn't say this is the address. You gave him like the longitude and latitude of the
postcode. I gave him the postcode. I was like, "Here's the postcode. You will know where we're going when you see it."
Treasure hunt. Oh, it was so good though. But the best podcast that will never air. That lunch was phenomenal.
Kieran says, Tom, did you see that Rory Jennings has since apologised and admitted that he was wrong re the Garnacho offside? I hadn't seen that, so fair play to Rory for apologising. He's got a lot in common with the PGMOL this season. Clock Orange says, do you think Ten Hag will get the sack if this continues? I mean, is his job in danger, do you think? I don't think it is, really.
I don't think it is yet, but I mean, the thing that normally, not always, but the thing that normally is the straw that broke the camel's back is when the player's down tools. And I think the situation with Jadon Sancho, look, the club's not going to choose Sancho over Ten Hag right now. But it's the first major public facing crack, I think, that you're seeing about Ten Hag's leadership and the way he's running the team. I think, I drove home. I was visiting my son at uni. And the end of my trip down there was us watching the United game at a bar. And a bar where I had just water, by the way, because I drove home then 2 hours after that. And on the whole way home, I was listening to Talk Sport on Sirius. They played Talk Sport, the kind of the post game show, and it was a call-in show. And the vast majority of the callers were Manchester United fans who, unlike people I keep seeing on YouTube and Twitter and those sorts of places, I mean, they were absolutely destroyed at their performance, not thinking that they deserved any points, and extremely annoyed at Ten Hag, at obviously at the Glazers. What's new? But so I mean, I think there's starting to be some cracks there, but it's going to take a lot more than a kind of a shady four game start for that to happen. There's going to be a little bit more, and I'm here for this. There's going to be a little more unraveling, but I think the Ten Hag thing about him being this great young new manager, I think, as many people said before this hire, I think he was in the perfect system at Ajax, and it's a system that doesn't exist everywhere else. And not everybody can go from that kind of system into a Manchester United just lion's den. And they haven't fixed the fundamental situations. They took a bit of a rise when they figured out that the team might be greater without Ronaldo than with him. But I think they've got too many really ridiculous personalities in that team, too many high-paid players, too many people who are feeling like they're not the favorites and they're not getting picked fairly. And I think he could get sacked this season. I just don't know if he's going to be the first person to get sacked.
Yeah, I don't think he will be the first person. I think, Luton are obviously a side that are kind of expected to go down. I'd be shocked if Luton did sack their manager, because I think it's one of those clubs where he's done an astounding job in getting them to the Premier League. That it
who the odds-on favorite for the first one to get sacked in?
I don't think he is.
No. He's not.
Got a good shout.
He's third, but the odds-on favorite is Sean Dyche.
Is it? Yeah, that does. I mean, Everton are very, shotgun in terms of their managerial changes. No doubt it'll be this week, and then they'll have a new manager when they play us. That's obviously what's going to happen. But I think Vincent Kompany could be in trouble, because even though he did a really good job with them last season, if Burnley don't start to pick up some points, Burnley are a side not like Luton who expect to be in the Premier League. Will not want to go back down.
He's 16-1, same as Ten Hag and Eddie Howe.
Yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting. Gary O'Neill at Wolves. Obviously, I like Gary O'Neill. I think he's been unlucky because they should have had a point or two against United this season already, or three rather. So yeah, he's unfortunate. Iraola, I thought he was going to do a really good job at Bournemouth, but so far has been struggling as well. So maybe he's one to look out for. And Eddie Howe, at Newcastle, 3 losses on the spin. It was one of my hot takes at the start of the season. I said Eddie Howe will be sacked this year. Yeah. And we'll see if that turns out to be true. Let's go to Marcus says, Mike, will you be asking Lee Judges for a detailed explanation on why he thought Man United were better than us?
Yeah, this is the first I'm hearing of this. I'm more than likely going to be on with him tomorrow night on his channel, so I will ask that. Did he say what he thought Manchester United?
Yeah, on AFTV, that was his thing. He said he thought they were better.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I know. I've been winding Lee up ever since the Fulham result.
I'll tell you what he's better than. He's better than your microphone just turned into. So
is it gone?
No.
Okay. I was nearly just about to take it out then.
Yeah, it just started.
This is one of my least favorite questions ever from Carl. He says, serious question, Tom and Mike, Sophie and Charles. When you do these live events, do you actually realize that for us it's like meeting A-list celebrity?
Do you remember when I used to make fun of you because you accidentally one time talked about responding to your fans? And you didn't mean to use the word fans, but I jumped all over you because of how pretentious it sounded, because that's just not how we look at things. I mean, I do have to say it was kind of bizarre. I did not expect that. I mean, I expected it, for you, but I mean, the way that people were during that event, which was so much fun, such a wonderful evening. I mean, it was just cool. I am not a guy who typically people walk up to and ask to take a picture with, or who have a t-shirt with our picture on it.
Yeah, that was Peeny Ween is a special man. He's a special man.
I get an absolute kick out of it. I do love it. I think I told you when we were having dinner after the Forest game that one of the side effects of my stomach surgery that I had about a year ago is intense narcissism. So the treatment from your fans at those events is a real treat, because trust me, in my day-to-day life around here in the States, I don't get that. So
yeah.
So when's the next show?
I don't get it anywhere other than when I go to these events. It's great. And obviously, a few people when I'm at the games and stuff, say some really nice things about the channel and about the guests that we have and about the community that we have as well. It's a brilliant thing. And hopefully early next year, there'll be something else to be able to bring people together again. There are things in the works, which I'm looking forward to. So
I'm back in late October, early November. So let's start planning. Come
on. Let's go to, and hopefully the microphone sorted itself out. It was actually an issue. So yeah, it's sorted now. Let's go. As I say, there's going to be issues, sadly, until I get this USB issue sorted out. I think I saved a couple of questions here. Christopher says, what's your prediction for the first Premier League manager to be sacked? We kind of covered that.
I actually saw that question, which is why I started looking up the odds. I mean, I guess that's cheating, but yeah,
Sean Dyche is probably going to be the one. So yeah, if we beat them, that's another loss for them. They are in the bottom 3. They're on 1 point. That'll be 1 point after 5 games. I mean, we never win at Everton. So if we can win at Everton, something's wrong with their coach. So
I mean, it's incredible the good things that Usmanov has done for that club.
Yeah,
I'm jealous. I'm really jealous.
Let's go to we'll go for a couple more before we wrap up. Green Weather says ex-Arsenal versus ex-Spurs player Xhaka's Bayer versus Kane's Munich. Who is going to win next Saturday? Hopefully Xhaka.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to root for him in that one. I didn't realize that the Xhaka Kane derby was occurring, and I think I might need to watch that now. Is that this Saturday or next Saturday? Are we talking like in 3 days or in 10 days?
I'll have a look. Bayern fixtures. Let's have a quick check. They are playing Leverkusen on Friday, 15th next week. So yeah, next week. So there's international break this week.
Friday week.
Yeah, Friday week. So that's
you know what? It's Rosh Hashanah. I can't watch it. God damn.
Right, that's going to bring us to the end of this morning's show. Mike, thank you so much for jumping on. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me, and as always, and thanks for supporting Gooners versus Cancer.
Absolutely. All the details for Mike's podcast are down in today's video description. There's a 27-hour show that I'm going to be part of on Monday as well, but it starts UK time Sunday evening at 6. Someone called Gab Marcotti and someone called Julian Laurent will be kicking things off. You realise that a show's meant to kick off like with the headline act at the end, and you've done it in like reverse order.
There are 27 headline acts in this show. That's the only thing, when you got this kind of star power on your show, you can't space it out. You just got to just blow it all out there.
Indeed. Yeah. Well, it's full of some fantastic guests, as I mentioned. Gab and Jules kick things off. You've got Clive is going to be joining in the next hour with FK, Dave Seeger and Paulie Jordan Arsenal. You've got an Arsenal Who Am I going with Mike McDonald, James Johnson, Lee Judges, Melvin Marks and Danny the GFP. Henry Winter will be on at 11 p.m. on Sunday. Ryan Rocastle, fantastic, will be on at midnight, on Monday morning. Elliot Smith from 1 till 2 a.m. Pedro, aka LaGrove, on from 2 till 3. Not Another Arsenal podcast from 3 till 4:30. You've got from 6, Steve Warrington and Max Ware from Arse Bros. Fergus Keaton and Trev Hills from Guns and Yellow Ribbons on at 7 till 8. And then at 8, in competition with us, will be Peter Drury and Harry Simeo. I'll be joining over and we're doing a raid on Mike's show around 8:30 a.m. UK time. Again, Harry Simeo will still be on for that hour. Alan Smith, former Arsenal, well, not former Arsenal legend, current Arsenal legend, and former Arsenal
never
player,
stop being a legend, man.
Exactly, from 10 to 11. Super Kevin Campbell from 11 a.m. till noon. Then James and Andrew, aka Arseblog pair, will be on from noon on Monday. Followed by that is Charles Watts talking about his book, Revolution, The Rise of Arteta's Arsenal, which I should say has become I think, Telegraph bestseller.
New York Times bestseller.
New York Times bestseller as well this week. Massive congratulations to Charles. Amazing stuff. I remember speaking to him before his book signing, how worried he was that no one's going to turn up. And as I said in my tweet, I was about the 350th odd person to get my book signed. So yeah, amazing work from Charles. Very inspiring indeed. So that's going to be great. We've then got at 2 till 3 p.m. the FA Cup of Football Phrases final rounds featuring John Champion and Jim Proudfoot from TalkSport in the Premier League, and a surprise guest as well. Looking forward to seeing who that might be. At 3 till 4, it's the Arsenal Artist Hour with Ruth Beck, Fran, and Dell as well. So make sure you tune into that. Way Too Close picture game featuring James B. And Lee Judges is back because he loves this so much. He's actually returning. With, of course, some of the guys from Air TV. And it's worth tuning in just for James because James is fantastic. So do listen in for that one. And then Andrew Allen from Arsblog News is going to be on from 5. Arsenal from the Outside featuring Warren Barton, John Harks and Sophie. I think Sophie's going to be across a lot of the shows.
She will.
Well, so
yeah, she will be.
Sophie across those. And then it's Demian, who's a musician, who I'm certainly going to be tuning in from the Arsenal Women's podcast. I'm looking forward to that with our good friend of the show, Albert, and good friend in real life, as well as Albert. Albert is a friend in real life too. But Russell Hoggy Hog is going to be on. And then, of course, there'll be a massive, fantastic end to the show with the first grand prize being drawn, which is, of course, the first team kit, which has been signed. So lots going on. I could be a stadium announcer, it turns out. But yeah, please do listen in.
We almost had him on. We know him too. So
yeah, we do. We should have got Peter involved. It's fantastic. I love seeing Peter now before the games because obviously I would have seen him around the press lounge and that before the game.
Tell him to respond to his WhatsApps because I mean it's his whole. I went to his wedding and his whole family's like, no, he never responds to his text. Like we keep telling him, like I will, but I won't see him before the show. Sadly, he's a great guy when you could actually get an audience with him, but he's like,
dearie me. Anyway, thank you everyone that's been listening. All the links for that are down in today's video description, so do make sure you check them out. If you're listening on audio platforms, hop over to YouTube to get the links to that, or you can go to Mike's Twitter at the Gooners Pod to find out all the extra information there. Mike, thank you for your time, mate.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Lovely stuff. Drop a like, people. Subscribe if you're new. And yeah, we'll be back at 10 a.m. on the Arsenal Way. And we'll be back this evening with an Eat, Sleep, Arsenal Repeat podcast at 9. I'll be joined by Owen, who'll be back, the Doc, and MK from LA Arsenal taking over from Sophie again this week. So make sure you tune in. It's going to be great. See you soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.